Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
Update. Missiles and drones rained down this week on Ukrainian cities. Over 1,260 in just 7 days. A maternity hospital in Kharkiv, apartments in Kiev, cities battered while the world looked away. But it wasn't just a week of destruction. It was a week of invention, defiance, and decision. For the first time in history, the enemy surrendered to Ukrainian robots. And far from the battlefield, a shift. The White House changed course. Trump is done with Putin's bullshit. And this week, the much-needed Patriot air defense missiles and weapons began flowing again. Trump also promised a major statement on Russia. Soon, hopefully. Will that statement back Lindsey Graham's sweeping sanctions package? A package that already commands overwhelming support in Congress. This isn't just news, this is the front line of freedom. And you're watching Ukraine Update with the Shills. I'm Slavie, your co-host. And let's say hello to the host of the Shills. Hi, Mr. Dawson.
Hey, how's it going? I hope everybody's well and happy today out there, at least in your own world. We've got some amazing guests you're about to be introduced to, and I can't wait to do it. So why don't we slip right in and get them on the show?
Absolutely. Today we have Força Ukraine, a team of American volunteer medics training Ukrainian doctors, first responders, and civilians to save lives right where the missiles are falling. Their courage in action, the embodiment of American solidarity on the front lines. And we're so happy to have you here today.
Yes, welcome everybody. I guess let's start at the top and go down. So we'll start with Nick. Welcome. How's things in the world of support and getting the word out and fulfilling the mission?
Yeah, I'm one of the newer members of the team. I'm Nick. I'm a paramedic in the United States. And I think, since my time with the team, it's nothing but growth for all the right reasons. And our leadership has just been fantastic, in figuring out the problem set. And I think the big part to remember is our team is just not Americans. We've got folks here that are Ukrainians, and our Ukrainian teammates are what makes the magic happen. We could do nothing without them. It's not our story to tell. It's the Ukrainian story to tell. And I'm just happy to be here along for the ride.
Awesome. Next up, we got Bohdan. Welcome. How's it going? Probably butchered that a little bit, but I got a real Canadian West Coast tongue, so I'm not the best with this.
Hello. It's good to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Bohdan, and I'm Ukrainian. I've been with this team since the very start, and I know some of the team members, even from some previous projects that we did before back in 2022. It's a big pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited to see, what we can create together today, what connection we can build with the audience we have.
Awesome. Good words. And beside him, we've got Mike. Mike, welcome. How's it going? Who are you, or who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Hey, thanks so much for having us on. My name's Mike. I'm a paramedic based here in Colorado. I'm the team lead for Força Ukraine, and as Nick and Bohdan had mentioned, we've been doing work in Ukraine basically since the start of the war, initially with a different organization in April of 2022. But then in March of 2023, we formed Força Ukraine, basically everybody that you see on the screen and a few folks that unfortunately couldn't be here today. Nick's absolutely right. This is a combined effort between Americans and Ukrainians to try and bring best practice pre-hospital trauma medicine, but then make it contextual to what Ukraine is dealing with right now. So we've done 5 trips as Força Ukraine, and we're preparing for our 6th, which will be this fall in August. Thanks again for having us.
Oh, our pleasure. We continue down to Kyle. Kyle with the team as well. Welcome to the show. You know the drill by now, right?
Yeah, thanks, Dick. Kyle, I'm an EMT in Colorado. Really appreciate the opportunity to be able to join y'all, and hopefully, as Bohdan says, connect with the audience that we're privileged to be able to speak with today, and hopefully share some of the good word that we're able to. So thanks for having us.
Excellent. And then we've got Steve rounding out the group here. Steve, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us. I'm the team physician. I'm actually based in Ukraine. So I left my job back in 2022 and moved to Ukraine in 23 and been here since then and support Força Ukraine in many ways as one of the connections from the US to Ukraine on a regular basis. I'm really excited to share our story. I think we have a lot of good insights into what it's like to live, work, and be part of this Ukrainian movement to push back against pure evil.
Good words. And then let's flip the script on you fellow babies real quick, because we've got the lovely Aziza from Crimea, Ukraine with us. And I do believe we're going to be blessed with music as well.
Hello. Thank you so much for opportunity to being here. And I'm Aziza. I'm from Ukraine. I'm from Crimea, but now I'm living in Odessa region. I'm creating the music. I'm artist. I'm activist, and I'm doing everything that I can in this time for supporting Ukrainian army and freedom of Crimea and freedom of Ukraine.
All right. Cool. So yes, because of time constraints, Aziza can only give us an actual musical performance here for the first little bit of the show. So I know it seems odd. We've got all these guests here, and we're going to be hearing some great stories about Ukraine support, and but we've got to flip the script, like I said. So Aziza, are you all prepped and ready?
Yeah.
Let me make sure that there's no voice cancel or anything going on so that your audio comes through clear. There's a bit of a fan noise. Am I hearing that right? Oh, there we go. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Через болючу смерть бачить ворогу спину. Почує душа
в'язницю думок початок зими. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Лише рятувати може свободу. Крізь брехню, кров і смерть повертається серць поетів. Не продати супоки, шумку тих, хто сідає майбутнє. Перестань закривати очі і побач, як гора зустрічає сонце. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Flag of freedom. Життя серед мороку, проданих за рай домівок. Повертайся додому в дзеркалах, нічого не бійся, зневірив пам'ять. У відповідь болю на ринку рабів ти час. Ти той, хто створює волю, ти час. Ти той, хто створює волю. Freedom is a name, it's Ukraine. As a flag of freedom. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Flag of freedom. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Freedom is a name, its name is Ukraine. Ukrainian flag is a flag of freedom. Flag of freedom. Ukraine, 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 Ukraine.
That was
Wow.
yeah, it's good.
I'm literally impressed. It was just so beautiful. And I couldn't understand what they were saying. Wow. You're incredible. Thank you so much.
If you don't mind, I will sing a little bit more for you.
Please.
Yes.
Gel beni sayılay, gel kanatlarımda gizli, yüreğimde tapa. Yok ben esir değilim, ben Oh my Lord, 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 oh my Lord. You are in my heart, you live like spring in my heart. You can't disappear, you can't die.
Awesome. Oh. Now we've got this weird echo again. Something happened on my end. I don't understand it.
Let's sing last song here today. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water and the desert will be your world before you die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water and the desert will be your world before you die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. In front of the enemy, I will never give up. You think you are better with your crown. This world will be great without it. This world will be great without it. Nature's blood will drain with its enemy's vein, with its tender love, with its tender love. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water and the desert will be your world before I'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water and the desert will be your world before you'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You think this world belongs to you. Time belongs to the patriarch, but the greatest form is hidden in the destination, I met my shadow in my heart and strike. It wanted to kill the birds in the belly of creation, You can't stand, but you can fly. The water in the desert will be your world before I'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water in the desert will be your world before you'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You think that I will be in the trap, and the God of my family died. I see the emptiness of your tears. My forest is in love with the desert. 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 You can't stand, but you can fly. The water in the desert will be your world before you'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water in the desert will be your world before I'll die. Believe me, see you. Stand with me like a musical note. The colony crumbles, slumps and falls. Baby, I need you, paradise, and the passion of this brave time. You can't stand, but you can fly. The water in the desert will be your world before I'll die. Believe me, you'll hear me, see you.
Awesome. Oh.
Thank you so much.
I somehow have this weird echo effect going again. Every time I speak, I'm coming through somebody else's audio. Okay, I'm gonna wrap the show. Slavie, I'll be right back.
Okay. I promise I haven't touched anything. Aziza, that was also echoing.
Thank you so
I don't know
much.
what's happened. Aziza, that's so beautiful. I'm out of words. It was so deep. And just can you tell us where the music and comes from? Like the sound, because they're very unique.
It was a long history of my music and finding of my identity, because full-scale war changed a lot in my mind, because I'm from Crimea, and Russia occupied Crimea, in 2014, and for Crimean Tatar war, and in general, a war began 11 years ago in Ukraine. But in some reason, during these years before the full-scale war, I saw that Russian culture is not guilty. Like, we have one person like Putin, who is a criminal, who is a crazy person. But after the war, I realized that it's more than one person. It's Russian culture and Russian people, and it's a great monster that has a lot of instruments. And before the full-scale war, I created songs in Crimean language, in Ukrainian language, but also in Russian language. And I spoke in Russian before. So after the full-scale war, I had a lot of changes in my mind, but like always, I like trip hop music. If you know such style, trip hop music, rock, metal, jazz music, so electronic music, and it's my sound. It's for me, this type of style of music is this time, the sound of my soul.
I definitely help.
God, again. Aziza doesn't echo what we do. What the hell is going on?
It might be for
I'm gonna switch us. Okay. Now, Slavie, say something.
You're still echoing.
Slavie, can you just rejoin my audio is going through your feed? Just rejoin the show. There's something going on.
Okay.
I don't quite understand. Okay, and now is my audio's only coming through me. Okay, so let's get everybody to say a few things here. Let's just check in with everybody, and let's make sure this is working, because I think we have found a way of fixing this. Holy Batman, kind of a neat thing, guys, to come into a stream like this and be entertained first before we get into the nitty gritty. That was pretty interesting, right? Where do you guys want to start with some discussion on what's going on in your world right now as you prep for your August mission and stuff? Mike, should we start with yourself, maybe?
Sure, and yeah, the audio is quite a bit better when it's just you talking back. First off, obviously, thanks for the music, Aziza. That was really special to hear something coming out of Ukraine right now. Yeah, so we're currently planning our 6th Force Ukraine mission for a couple of us. This will be our 8th trip into country. Obviously, Steve is there full time. What we always do is we look at the situation on the ground, and we've done our best to try and learn as much as we can from the Ukrainians that we've taught in the past to make sure that what we teach is contextually appropriate. So combining those two elements, unfortunately, this trip is probably going to look a little bit different from ones in the past, and that's just reflective of what's happening on the ground right now. I'm sure most of your listeners are familiar with the geography, but in both July of 2023 and March of 2024, we started our trips in Pokrovsk, which obviously is not something that we can do anymore because of what has happened there. In this last trip, just in April of this year, 2025, we did a trip. We started our trip initially in Kharkiv, and then we moved down to the Donbass, where we were just north of Dobropilya, which, if you've been following the news lately, is directly on the front lines, saturated with FPV drones, getting hit very hard. And then that road, basically, that comes down from Kramatorsk down to Dobropilya, is really inaccessible. And so while we are preparing the next trip to come back and do the things that we do, which is to teach advanced pre-hospital trauma training, we're doing so with the acknowledgement and the realization that the situation on the ground in Ukraine continues to be very dynamic, continues to be one where we have to be very aware of what the drone threat is in particular. But as we were talking about before the show actually kicked off, and we saw last night in Lviv and in other places, even in the West, that the increase in the larger Shahed drones flying in, the missiles, just the volume of that is certainly going to impact the trip. That notwithstanding, our intent is to still put our team on the ground, obviously pair up with our incredible Ukrainian teammates who, as Nick said at the outset, are what make any of this possible for us to be able to do the work, and then provide the best training that we can over the course of about 6 weeks from the end of August until probably about middle of October.
I should, as we continue here, jump in because on the Shills account, they got it right here. Today's fundraising, as we're always doing some here, is all for the Forca group. So right now, I can give a shout out here to Tyler Dowdy. There's a $40 direct donation in. So we'll shout that out. I think we've got, there we go, the applause. That whole thing with the echo, I was shutting down audio sources. I mean, I went to audio engineering school, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't on my end. The software just give up the ghost there. But so huge shout out to Tyler Dowdy. Thank you very much. Couple others I'll shout out quick here, and we'll hopefully get some more fundraising in as well. We got Johnny Nebregard in the chat there, gifting out or doing a super chat. Hello, Shills, Slavie, Ukrainian, Norwegian kroner there. Good one, too. Thanks, Johnny. Go with the Flow Farm comes in with a big thank you message. So hearts again. Where's the applause? There we go. Petra Olsen comes in with 269 Swedish kroners with love to Ukraine. And with love thou shall be sent. And then Johnny Negregard's coming in gifting out Shills memberships. All right. Thank you, Johnny. Very cool indeed. I think we're caught up there. Let me just double check. All right. So, I had a question that I was going to turn to one of your group with, and I lost it during all that fanfare and BS.
I have a question.
Please.
Anyway, it says we're good now, right? Okay.
Yes. Somehow it's fixed. So.
Yeah. Is it Forza Ukraine or Forca Ukraine? This isn't the question.
It's Força. It's a Portuguese word. The Força Foundation, of which we are a subsidiary, is basically, it was formed by one of my good friends, his grandfather, who was a Portuguese immigrant to the United States, who ended up being very successful in business. And then he wanted a philanthropic arm to give back to the community because he felt like he had benefited so much from his experience. If we could, just before we continue, I also wanted to add a huge thank you to everybody who donated. We are a completely nonprofit 501c3 based out of the States, and every single one of our trips has been done almost predominantly from small money donation in the $10 to $100 range. We do get a couple of grants, and we have a couple of larger organizations that support us. But generally speaking, I mean, one of the things that I think makes us a little bit special and unique is that no donation is too small, because we use that money and 100% of all donations go directly to operational costs. But we use most of that money to go directly to medical supplies. And about between a quarter and a third of our budget is dedicated to providing medical supplies that are then donated. But they're not just donated because of relationships that we have on the ground with, like, Dnipro Tourniquet, for example. if you give me a $13 donation, I take that $13 and I go to Dnipro Tourniquet and I buy a tourniquet. Not only do we buy that, we then put it in the hands of some of the best instructors that we have. And we take that tourniquet to the end user, and we teach them how to not just apply it properly, but to really know how to use the equipment. And so we do a knowledge and skills transfer with the equipment. And so there really is a direct line with us and the team merely being a conduit for information. But for anybody who donates to us, there's a direct line from you in America or Sweden or wherever you're listening to this to the end user. And those end users are using this skill and these tools to save lives in Ukraine.
Awesome.
What are the biggest gaps in trauma care that you're seeing that desperately need more attention from international supporters?
Good one.
Hey, Steve, why don't you take this one since you've been on the ground the longest?
Yeah. So since 2022, there's been a big evolution in tourniquet use. So there was a big push for tourniquets because we knew that they were life-saving and limb-saving throughout the past 10 or 15 years in war zones. However, in Ukraine, due to the prolonged evacuations because of mostly FPV drones making it difficult to get off the point of injury, there's a lot of complications related to tourniquet use. So tourniquets are being left on too long, or tourniquets aren't being appropriately removed, relocated, or converted to ways to save the limb. So they are saving lives, but at the cost of Ukrainian limbs. So starting in July of 23, Força started teaching tourniquet replacement and relocation and trying to do conversion. This was ahead of any large-scale changes in the TCCC or the Tactical Combat Casualty Care guidelines. So we were on the ground, we were aware of the issue, and we started teaching it before it became mainstream. And that's the benefit of being here on the ground and working with the Ukrainians and being able to make these real-time changes. So this has been something that we've been working really hard at and really reinforcing. And we teach it not just at a combat medic level, but we teach this to all the soldiers that we train. So if a soldier is injured and they need to have the tourniquet either replaced, removed, or converted within 2 hours, they have that ability. They don't have to wait for the combat medic in 12 hours to say, sorry, you're going to lose your limb. And that's all they can do. So this is something we're trying to teach and empower Ukrainians to do at point of injury, just because they're not going to get off that front line as fast as they need to get to a combat medic or a physician who knows how to do this. So this is something we focus on quite a bit, and we actually spend a lot of time on, and we build this into all of our simulations. The second part is blood. The blood transfusions save lives, and so we're trying to push this as far forward as possible. It just becomes difficult because logistically it's difficult. How do you get blood from Dnipro, Kharkiv to the front line? So what we focus on training is walking blood bank. So people who are healthy and able to donate at point of injury, we've been really pushing forward and trying to get into the hands of the trained combat medics to be able to do this. So the big thing that we always talk about is you need to stop bleeding. You need to keep people warm. That's actually a big thing that people miss is hypothermia. So we preach the keeping people warm, and then they need to get blood. If you do those three things, you're going to save a lot more lives than you were before. And these are basic things that can be done within the first 6 hours of care. And so this is what we're really pushing forward, and this is what we focus on most when it comes to having the most impact in saving lives through pre-hospital medicine in Ukraine.
In-depth answer. Very good. Very good.
Yeah, if I could just jump in on that as well. I mean, I think one of the important things that Steve talks about is, having to make medicine contextual to the Ukrainian problem. And one of the things that we've seen with U.S. combat medicine and NATO standards is that they're very much informed by the global war on terror and a very different conflict. And one of the things that we have tried extremely hard to do is modify what we teach and what we train, not just coming in and ramrodding hey, this is how the US does combat medicine, because that's not an effective solution in Ukraine. And so because Steve is there, because we embed with units when we're there, we do our best to try and make that, to learn as much as we can from the people who are actually in the fight. So the Ukrainian medics, the Ukrainian DSNS, other first responders, Ukrainian doctors, and then extrapolate that information out that we're getting from them and adjust our training so that we're taking best practice medicine and making it contextually appropriate to what the Ukrainians need in the context of not having helicopter evacuation, of not having air and fire superiority, of having extremely prolonged field care, like Steve was talking about, you know, the drone threat, and not just the drone threat, but the mechanism of injury which that causes is significantly different than what we learned a lot of our trauma medicine on, which was predominantly, you know, small arms fire, potentially a few IEDs, but generally speaking, a very different wound pattern that we're seeing in Ukraine. Extremely complex wounds, lots and lots of casualties. So we have to make that as appropriate as we can to the Ukrainian problem set.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just steamroll in with ideas and methods and stuff that aren't going to fit the bill for the moment, right? We've got a few, the call for shoutouts did work here, fellow babies. Wow. So let me do a few more and we'll get right back into this. We've got Steve Walsh, big contributor around here, Steve Walsh. And he sends in $65. Direct donation to the pot today. Love it, Steve. Love it. Big shouts indeed. You know, every now and then when I'm hitting the sound effects doing this, I get this faint memory of that Kramer guy doing that Mad Money show from years ago, the stockbroker guy. Got to make sure I don't fall into that too much. And then Joshua Watkins comes in with a direct donation of $6.66. And that's going right into the pot as well. We got SSW Custom Sewing throwing in support as well with a direct donation. Huge shouts, guys. We've got Janice B in for $20. Direct donation through Ko-fi there. Slavie, Ukraine. We've got Psychoblation and Silver Earth. Hey, they set me up with the painting that you see back there and a couple other things as well. Sorry, it's all we have right now. No sorries indeed. You guys are always on top of it. And then we got White Fishy One coming in with a $25 direct donation as well. As a father with a daughter in EMS, firefighter, paramedic, I deeply respect all the work you guys do. Slavie, Ukraine. Well said, White Fishy. Let me make sure I'm caught up because it was coming thick and fast there and it was really hard to keep track of everything. I'm going to double check in the background and make sure I haven't missed anybody, but so far, wow, guys, well done. All right, let's keep it up because support does sometimes cost a bit of cash and we know how good you are at helping. I was hoping I would remember that question I wanted to answer earlier in this same moment and environment. It didn't quite work out. I'll turn to yourself, Slavie, there.
Yeah, question. What compelled you as American volunteers to bring trauma training directly to Ukrainian war zones? Just to any of you who wants to answer.
Who has?
I'll kick that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I'll kick it off, and then I'll turn it over to the other guys because I really want to. You know, we have our perspective, but you know, obviously, guys who join the team later have a lot to contribute and have joined, kind of knowing what's going on. But I think you know, in the early part of the war, we saw a huge amount of effort going out from Western organizations, big organizations, and basically, Ukraine was just flooded with volunteers. At one point, I think Dnipro, there were 180 plus NGOs operating out of Dnipro. But what we found was after the war entered its second year, so in February of 2023, a lot of those bigger organizations, because it's hard, it is difficult to be in Ukraine, especially providing medical help. The tyranny of distance is real. You know, how long it takes people to get into country impacts the kinds of people that you can bring in and keep in consecutively. But we saw that there was a significant dearth in advanced pre-hospital training. There were a lot of people on the ground teaching the basics of hemorrhage control, and that kind of gets to what Steve was talking about in terms of tourniquet application problems that we then saw manifest later on. But what we didn't see were a lot of people who were teaching the advanced pre-hospital trauma training. So the stuff that Steve talked about, tourniquet conversion, blood in the field, IVIO access, surgical airways, the things that are critically important when you're dealing with the complex wounding patterns that we're seeing in Ukraine. You know, it's not small arms fire where you can just throw a tourniquet on, fire and forget. It's definitely a much more complex injury pattern that we're seeing. And so when we felt like there was a real gap in that ability for the medics to get that training, we were kind of looking around, you know, Steve and Emily and a couple of other folks who are not on the call right now, going, man, somebody should do something about this. And then we started kicking around the idea that that somebody should be us. And we're fortunate that the Força Foundation exists, and we were able to sit and get a Ukraine healthcare effort put underneath that. But that was really the impetus, was that we identified what we thought was a need out there. And then we just wanted to fill that need with some of the best people we could find. And I'd love to hear, you know, what Kyle and Nick and folks who've come in after the fact or after that initial thing kind of feel about that.
Yeah, sure. I'll bite, Mike, because I think I was the latest of the joinees about 2 trips ago. You know, I met the team through mutual friends. I was actually speaking at a conference, and they had to suffer through me talking about American pre-hospital blood programs. And I think, you know, they got into a spot where they needed some help, because our team is made of volunteers who have other jobs and other things going on. And so sometimes we have to shift, and they're like, hey, you want to do this thing and come over here? And had a, you know, that heartfelt conversation with my fiance, and having done overseas work before, you know, I missed it terribly. And it's easy to stay involved with this team. The leadership is fantastic. The mission is just a great thing. And then we have a variety of students, everyone from someone who's conscripted to folks who stepped up to volunteer with agencies that are doing medevac and stuff up there, who before the war, you know, were teachers and IT workers and all different types of things. And to be involved with that, where you get this light bulb like halfway through the course where everything starts coming together. That is completely stolen from every other teacher that's taught in the history of the world. When you see that student have that metanoia, you know, that click, but it's fantastic, you know. And to Mike's point, there's tons of NGOs over there that are doing the best they can. I know ours really focuses on, hey, what are we doing with the donor dollar? It matters. I know that sounds silly. People say that all the time. You know, we know it's not just your mother donating, but a lot of people donating to this and helping us take what is hugely a crowd-funded war on the side of the Ukrainians, and putting the best product we can in their hand through partnerships like Dnipro. I don't mean to sound like a commercial, but it's a real tangible thing. I was blown away. I went to the factory in Dnipro, the old one where they're making these tourniquets, and I was like, this is a quality product. We're training on it. We're using it. They're a partner with us. They believe in us. And so it's just a fantastic thing. I mean, really, I can't say no anymore, right? I'm hooked, and the Ukrainian people are nothing but receptive to us as American. It's been a great time.
Yeah, and I'll add on to that as well, right? For me coming in, I had the opportunity to kind of come in knowing exactly what I was getting myself into, right? Mike and I had met doing some other stuff, you know, and doing some training on a different project. And so my background is having done a bunch of stuff internationally, and like Nick, very much missed that opportunity to, as much as instructors we like teaching, I think one of the things we like most is learning. Right. And when you can find someone who has a different perspective, someone who's solved a problem a different way, someone who has an experience that's different than your own, and you get the ability to mash your knowledge and experience with the reality that they face on a daily basis, it really is some of the more moving moments you'll ever get in your life. And so it's for me, it is somewhat selfish, right? I have this opportunity to to go over and be not just a part of teaching, but to learn on a daily basis, and to be blown away by the quality and care and consideration that the Ukrainian people have, the heart that they have, to work with, the interpreters, our teammates, our friends, right? These aren't just colleagues, right? These are guys that we would very happily give up anything and everything for. They are our family as a team, across the entire spectrum, and those who are on this this call and those who are not. So I think that it started as, of course, right, like as instructors, we're like, yeah, this is fun and intellectually interesting, and then it becomes very deep and very personal, right, and it becomes something that it is an everyday piece. It doesn't matter if I'm in the States or somewhere else or in Ukraine, right? This is a part of what I think about and what I'm trying to make myself better to be a part of on a daily basis.
Cool.
I'll go, and then I'll let Bodon go. But I didn't know this at the time, but I fell in love with Ukraine. And it's the people, it's the land, it's the culture, it's the way everyone approaches life. And I didn't know I would fit so well into that. But my initial thought when the big war was starting, I saw a huge injustice starting to happen, and part of me said I should go, and I listened. And I came, and like I said, I fell in love, not just with the work, but with the people. Like, Ukrainians are incredibly resilient, incredibly strong. They're pushing back against probably the most evil force that we've had to deal with in our lifetime. And what more of a privilege it is to be here to push back with them. And I think that's what we all do at the base of it. Yeah, we all are teachers. We've done work internationally, but we all have this shared passion that the injustices we see, we can actually do something about. And it's difficult work, but it is incredibly rewarding. And I know that the work we do, based on the feedback we get now, the work we do saves lives. And so, that, like Mike says, $13 for a tourniquet, that's $13 to save a life. You can't really get more value for your money than that. And so that's what really keeps me going, is that the impact we have as individuals is a lot more than we or even people can imagine having. And so we appreciate the support. We appreciate the Ukrainian people for being so open and welcoming to us, and literally bringing us into their homes and feeding us and making us part of their family is just an honor. And so this, to me, is a calling, and I'm glad I answered, because I met these great people. And then I will pass it to Bodon. He's one of my favorites. He and I are Stepan Bandera fans, and we're brothers in arms in this.
Cool.
Thank you, Stu. Yeah, it's a great question. And I was thinking, because I'm probably here the only one who was not kind of coming to Ukraine. I was just created here in Ukraine by God. So my decision here was very simple. I work with quite a few teams in the field of medicine since the beginning of the big war, 2022, and I've experienced all the different kind of things that international organizations were trying to achieve here in Ukraine. And it was so easy for me just to connect with Força, and at the time, even not Força, but some members that actually founded Força, because how much they put into the work, how much they put into actually caring about the training and being here, not just a person who is just, went abroad and decided to do something that they usually do at their regular job as a paramedic or a doctor. They came here because they deeply concerned that, what the hell is happening right now. It's been happening for more than 3 years on a big scale, and now more than 10 years since 2014, where Russia seized Crimea and other parts of Ukraine. And for me, it's a lot about the big change that is happening in history. So if we want it or not, things are changing. And the conventional wars that were happening before, they are not a thing anymore. It's not like someone is going to send like 1 million troops and try to invade some country.
Right.
It's so much more sneaky wars that we have right now. it's a hybrid war with all the misinformation, all the lies, all the manipulations, the bots using all the platforms just to get into your brain and to convince that this is the truth, and you should accept that, while they're doing other things that they are doing. So if there is this idea, right, that there is a country that in the modern world can just invade some other country and take it over by any kind of means, it's just a very, very disappointing idea, and I cannot accept that. It's just not something that that I can live with. And with help with this team, I see that there are people that actually care. And here I'm very clear to differentiate, because we have international bodies, governments, right? And they have own opinion and they have own ideas what they want to do about some wars. But what is more important is even people of the country. I know that the policy of the US has changed a lot, but people that you see here from Força Ukraine, they have never let down Ukraine. And they were here, they were training, and this is why I'm so proud of them.
Awesome. I wanted to turn to Aziza. What thoughts come into your head here in what we just heard, right?
I feel it's a big honor to be here through these people, because you did so great job and great work for independence of Ukraine and for freedom of the world. And I'm always thinking about as a reason of art, as a reason of music. And sometimes I think it's art and music has no sense, because I cannot stop the rocket. I cannot help directly the army, but I try to do small work, like donate through my painting and through my music. And it's great that I met so great person like Rick, the Ukrainian, that found a lot of money for Ukrainian army, but still sometimes I thought about the past, and if like Bogdan said, that this war is more than only war on the battlefield. This war is also about the Russian propaganda of Russian world and Russian diplomacy that is really strong, and they have a lot of money. And also for me, most terrible enemy is good Russian also, because if Putin's Russian are really sometimes stupid, but yeah, they have big population, they're really dangerous with all weapons, with nuclear power, but sometimes good Russians can do more disgusting things in this time. So during this war, they still want to say that they are better than Ukrainian. They have more truth in more peacefully mind than Ukrainian, and they created their work films, production, music, and in this way, Ukrainian voices are very Russian voices are very loud, and Ukrainian are hidden in the shadow of the Russian, because still for the world, for Europe, for United States, Russian are something good. Like Putin is bad, but Russian are okay. And so they try to show the supporting of Russian opposition, Navalny, and another opposition power from Russia. And I think it's also part of supporting of this great monster, because he saw it saw that it's okay that nobody stop this monster. Nobody can say something against this monster, and so it's work directly in the direction of supporting Russian army, because it's one state, one philosophy, and I try to tell about this to the people in my country and also my friends that live in other countries. I try to explain how it's important, because first we have the philosophy, first we have the words, literature, ideas, and then by my nation, because I'm perfect example of colonized personality, because long time I didn't realize this, because how they colonized Crimea. They deported my nation. So they deported my nation. Through the deportation died at least 47% of my nation. So it was a big genocide, and they colonized Crimea. And in this big fighting, I always think about Crimea. And sometimes it's like a big dream, because somebody can say, oh, how you can dream about Crimea if we have so like hard, difficult situation on the battlefield. So we have to defend a lot of territories on the east of Ukraine and in the center of Ukraine, and Crimea is like somewhere, far away from us. And every year we are far from my homeland, from my mother. My mother lived in occupation, and for me it's like, in any case, I'm fighting for Crimea. And I try to explain to people that Crimea is a reason, because Crimea is a place that so war began in Crimea. And without free Crimea, we could not be free, because Russian, like my mother is crying when Russia shelled Ukraine from Crimea, because she has the feelings that it's my mother shelled Crimea, Ukraine. And so if Russian will have this territory, we will never be free, and also we will never see the justice. So, but I realize that it's all about the Ukrainian army. And sometimes somebody asks me, "Are you ready to join army to fight for the Crimea?" Because it's all about, the people. Because for Ukraine, people are most important thing, and our soldiers, really, for me, our soldiers are best soldiers of NATO. And I feel so great gratitude for your work, because now I saw how it's great. You build great system for supporting Ukraine, and all your stuff is like my life here in a free Ukraine. Because my mother could say that it is better to live in Ukraine under Russian shelling than to live in occupation under Russian power. Because Russian occupation is the worst thing that can happen with people, because it means that a lot of good people will be in prison, and it's a time of silent terror, and it's when they can torture you if you have a good heart, if you are human. So in this way, I'll also think about the sense of my life every time. And thank you so much for being here with you, and thank you for your work. Just to feel great love to you, and to you friends that support Ukraine all this time. And yes, for me, power is a people, not the leader, because we live, in the time of old men that have the power and try to build this old world, with all these rules. But no, I really believe in people, because Ukraine proves this in our own history, and I believe in the will of the people. So thank you so much for being the real power in this time.
Yes.
In Ukrainian, we have the word vola, which
vola.
Do you want to explain to the people what vola is?
Like vola, it's more than freedom, because freedom is like svoboda. We also have this word svoboda. Vola, it's like real inside of you great wish for changes, that you can have responsibility. Because freedom is when you have responsibility, not when you can, like Russians so think that freedom is when you can do everything what you want, kill the people, torture the people, steal everything. It's a freedom for Russian, but not freedom to have responsibility, make decision, make election in your life. No, for Russian, freedom is when you can kill, steal, and do everything what you want. But for Ukrainian, freedom is a will. when you can have responsibility, when you can ask answer of everything what you do in your life, and say that my country begin in me, inside of me, and then everything. So a lot of people say that we are like not like Russians, stupid Russians think that Zelensky is the reason of the war. It's stupid, because if Zelensky will die or Zelensky will not the president, we will fight. We will continue to fight, because Zelensky is not the reason of our struggle.
Definitely not. Definitely not. We have a message here from It Wasn't Me in the chat. Huge thanks to the Forca team and to the viewers, and of course, Aziza for her lovely music in the beginning as well. And we got to get that one in before it got lost in the shuffle. We do have some questions coming into the room there, Slavie. Are you on that?
Yeah, there's a lot piling up. I've been.
We best get to it. Yes.
Yeah. Well, first one from Whitefishy, and question for Forza: are you guys predominantly military medical training? Any one of you can answer.
Like, is that who we train predominantly? Is that the question?
I do not make up these questions. Are they predominantly military medical training?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd like Steve to talk about one of the other efforts that we just launched recently. But yes, we do a lot of military training. I know that that's always been a gray area for, NGOs and humanitarians on the ground. But if we look at the reality of the system right now, it's the military that are going into a lot of the occupied areas. There is no civilian infrastructure in the Donbass, for example, and in other places. So if you look at the people who are actually doing the civilian evacuations, the Kazakhs, the medevacs, the preponderance of that is the military. That said, we have also spent time training the DS&S, so the first responder system. We've spent time in hospitals because, as you know, a lot of these hospitals are absorbing a patient population that is not what they are designed to do. For example, we spent a lot of time teaching trauma training to an oncology hospital because they're suddenly absorbing patients that are coming in from missile strikes and drone strikes, and they're not necessarily trauma trained. And we've also trained medical students, and we have trained civilians. And I'll let Steve talk about our most recent effort to train Ukrainian school kids as well.
Yeah, so we spent 5 weeks training high school students in how to stop the bleed. So that involved teaching tourniquets, wound packing, compression dressings. We were teaching primarily 12 to 16-year-olds because this is the reality of Ukrainian teenage world. Schools are shelled, schools are struck, playgrounds are struck. So this is something that they actually expect to use. That was one of the surprising questions we got feedback from on them, is that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to use this in real life? The average was 7.5. Can you imagine thinking that this is a needed skill at the age of 15?
Wow.
So we were fortunate enough to actually be able to provide this to almost 1,400 students at a cost of about $11 per student trained. So not only do we get this knowledge out there and we get them to practice, but we do it very efficiently so that we're able to train as many people as we can. So this was done in Dnipro, this was done in Kyiv, and it involved, Bogdan was one of our trainers for this, myself, and then our other Ukrainian teammates as well were also training. And so this also speaks to the other thing that we do is the people we train aren't just helping others, they're going on to train other people. So our knowledge transfer isn't just to the end user, they're on to other teachers. So these are people that are going on to teach others. And so we call this force multiplying. This is a big part of our work as well. And so that is how we kind of keep spreading everything that we do. I think just a really quick story, one of the people we trained during our first mission, I had actually trained on the first time I came to Ukraine. And she said after that first training, she actually became a trainer herself because she understood the importance of being able to pass this information along. And so this is something I'm really proud about that we also focus on, is just developing others, including our teammates, to be trainers as well.
Cool. There's a lot of sentiment about the appreciation for the depth of answers that people are receiving from yourselves today. So, that's a thing that the viewers very much like, and maybe it's going to result in more donations. Back to Slavie, because I'm sure we've got a bunch.
Yes, we have a bunch to get through, and I know I have a bunch of questions for you guys. But next question is from our very own Annette, and it's: do you recruit people that have medical training only, or do you teach the skills to people who don't have a healthcare background?
I can take this if that's okay, Mike. Cool. So we train everybody regardless of background. So I think it was maybe Kyle or Nick, I'm sorry, said something to the effect that we get people who have no medical background, Nick. So people who are IT, teachers, factory workers, farmers, who get conscripted or volunteer and have never received proper training. And so we are able to train them with no medical background. And this is another great thing that we do, is we're able to deliver medical education on a level where people understand it, everyday people, civilians, kids, teenagers, people without any medical background. We're able to get them to successfully, after our training, do these skills and use these skills. And it gives me another story to tell about the work we do. The group of soldiers we trained in just wound packing and tourniquets had one of their soldiers get injured and their medic froze. This happens. We have the flight, freeze, or fight. This medic froze, but the soldiers were like, hey, I went to Force Ukraine training. I remember what to do. They packed the wound. They saved that guy's life. And so these weren't people who weren't medically trained. These were people who were either in the military for a long time, or they were factory workers. One of our great students was a judge. And so these people come from different backgrounds. So I think that's what's special about our team, is we're able to deliver our message in a very understandable and usable way, which I think, like I said, is a super unique part of our team and fits our mission really well.
Indeed.
Great answer. Thank you so much for that. The next question is from RP Marson. Probably stupid question, but can blood only be donated in Ukraine?
So I'll answer this because it's a complex question. So the blood system currently, you can only donate blood in Ukraine to be used in Ukraine. Right now, Ukraine is not accepting international blood. There's a whole process that goes into this. And then there's very specific rules within Ukraine of who can donate, and it's specific for Ukrainians. The good part is they actually have very high-functioning, well-operating blood banks that are always busy and always giving blood. The hardest part, though, to this is the logistics of getting it from the blood transfusion center to the front line. And that's the biggest bottleneck, is it takes special equipment to keep the blood cold. And then you have to warm the blood, so you need blood warmers. And then what we focus on is the hard skills, which are IV placement, IO placement, because you need that to give the blood, and that can be really difficult, especially in patients who've lost a lot of blood. So the blood is there. It's more the skill per professionals and the actual logistics to make that happen.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you for that.
I figured that wasn't going to be an easy question to answer just because of the volatility of the item in question, right?
Yeah, and just a really quick, there's a huge fear of blood in Ukraine. So before this war, blood was used very sparingly in trauma. It had very specific rules you had to go through. And because of the big war in 2022, they actually had to change laws to actually give blood before you knew their blood type, before you knew their blood levels. So this is actually a pretty radical change for Ukraine. It's been taking some time to implement, but it's slowly coming around. And again, this is something that we do. We teach and break down the myths of blood. This is a huge part of our course. And a lot of people who are very skeptical, by the end, they're very open to it and want more. And so we help facilitate that, even though we're not here in country all the time.
Cool. I'm going to just jump in quick here. Couple of shout outs to do. Yvonne Way with a Slavie Ukraine message in the super chat line there. Thank you very much. Nikki Hill sent in 5 Shills gifted memberships. Very cool. And then speak of the devil, Rick the Ukrainian's here, and he gifted in 5 Shills memberships as well. Great to see you, Rick. Hey, you know where the link is. Jump on if you want to say hey. Always great to see Rick around. If you want to see what fundraising really, really looks like when you're an absolute hardcore, you get over and check out Rick the Ukrainian's ability to get money in. Wow. Okay.
Well, I got a shout out. SSW Custom Sewing is asking if we can get Vita from Think Ukraine on the show. And yes, we're on that. I know you keep asking us. And thank you so much for channel super chat. And it's he's saying the West Coast is the best coast. Support Ukraine.
Well said. Oh, I like it. There's another one, Ukrainian Jenny Meats, that I want to get a hold of to get on the channel to chat with us. She's got some really good interview stuff going on her channel too. Okay, yes, I'll get out of the way because questions be a flying.
I mean, you guys answer so well, so that's why we're trying to get through the questions, because it's so much information and it's very, very interesting. Next question is from Duncan Stewart, and it's, is the pelvic tourniquet available for leg wounds?
We got a whole
I'm
bunch
wondering
of.
if they're talking about the abdominal, or you think they're talking about the abdominal tourniquet, guys?
I think you could talk about both. If you want to, Kyle, you can take this,
Yeah.
but you can talk about both.
Yeah, you're talking about the pelvic binder or the, yeah. I mean, yeah, for leg wounds, the short version is, right, anything that has a strap, a windlass, and the ability to capture the windlass can become a tourniquet. Right, the commercially made pelvic binders and abdominal junctional tourniquets are not intended for use on the leg. That's not what they were made for. That's not where they're supposed to be used. Could you improvise it into being able to be used for one if you didn't have anything else? Probably. I think that's one of the things that as an organization we try not to give hard and fast, like this is the rule and there is no other way to.
Not very long ago, you could still evacuate people in the evenings or overnight.
Is everything coming back?
Obviously, with advances in the drone technology, that's a lot harder now. And so one of the things that Ukrainians are doing is basically using autonomous drones, usually like it looks like a wagon, for lack of a better term. We saw one of these kind of being field tested when we were out in April. But basically, as long as you can get your casualty in that wagon, the wagon has the ability to autonomously navigate back to a safer location. And what this is doing is it now negates the need for other people to run out to that casualty. It's a fascinating technology. It's something that's absolutely used. But one of the things that's critical to remember is that the scope of this problem is so great. The volume of casualties is so great that until we can figure out how to mitigate those things, we're going to continue to have issues with how many casualties actually can get back to definitive care.
I'm going to jump on that really quick. It's the scalability that Mike was talking to. You have a 1,200 kilometer long front line. So they are testing these in some specific areas that we've seen. And again, it's a logistics problem. So the technology exists, the ability to make these machines exist. It's just they need more money. They need more funding to make this more mainstream and to make it more effective. But yeah, this is one of the things that will help save lives and reduce the secondary injuries from trying to evacuate people. So it's coming. It just, Ukraine needs more money, and I hope that's coming from the US soon.
Yeah, definitely. Here's to a huge hope.
Yes. Okay.
I think
Anybody?
we'll aid hopefully next week.
Yeah. If anybody was watching there and noticed that all hell broke loose, I think we're back and proper now. My home internet literally reset. And so we were gone for a minute. I don't know how many people even noticed, but we'll see what we can do to get things back.
On my stream, it dropped off and a lot of people left.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're back on. And I know it was a little bit weird asking the questions because I couldn't see anyone. So I'm like, well, what's happening?
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it was still feeding out to the stream or not, or what was going on there. But yeah, okay, we're back. We're all right. I'm just going to double check some stuff in the background to make sure we are truly all right and not just hanging on by a thread. I don't know if that was like, why today? Why today? Really? You know?
Yeah, one of those days, I guess. Next question we have from Duncan Stewart. Is saline available to medics up front for hydration volume?
Nick, your turn. Oh, I can't hear you, Nick.
It helps to unmute Nick.
Is he having? There we go. Oh no, we don't hear him. I see he's got that issue he had in the beginning. Just let me refresh you, and you should kick in any second now.
All right.
There we go.
Now?
There we go.
Excellent. No, so yes, Duncan, my experience with the military medics and the other medevac units, like the hospitaliers and some of the other groups over there, is they do have saline. There's all sorts of that stuff out there, but a lot of it depends on just what the unit was able to purchase or get in donations, right? So one of the things to really remember, to Steve's point, is the front and the size of this war is gigantic, right? It's not focused in one spot. And so there are regional differences in the supplies that are available, and the logistics that are available, and thus the healthcare that's available. But saline exists, lactated ringers, other what we call crystalloids, the clear fluids you see hanging. Access to that is absolutely there.
And the downside to having access to clear fluid is it doesn't fix blood loss. It actually makes blood loss worse. And so this is actually something we talk about quite a bit, and it kind of gets what Kyle was talking about. You're stuck in a situation where you have something you can do to maybe help or maybe not help, and you have to use your resources. Well, unfortunately, normal saline or crystalloid doesn't help in blood loss. And so we talk about, again, the emphasis on needing to get blood inside that person, because you can actually make things worse by giving the saline.
Thank you so much for that answer. Definitely makes sense. Next question is from Christine McCall. Question for the panel. What things have you learned from Ukraine that the US could do better? Great question, by the way.
Who wants to try that one?
There's so many answers. There's so many answers.
That's a whole show in itself.
How many hours do we have to answer this?
First off, the lack of hachipuri in the States is a startling problem, and it needs to be solved immediately. I think we're learning a lot about medicine, right? And I've had to tell students, I am sorry that you guys are the test subjects. But to the points Mike's have made earlier and other folks, figuring out what contextually appropriate medicine to the Ukrainian conflict is important. The wars that America learned T-Tricine are different, and the wars that America and other, you know, allies likely will experience in the future are not the wars that we fought in the desert. And so that's different. And we're learning that from Ukrainians. Hey, this didn't work. Why this not net? I think, you know, one of the really interesting things to look at is the military civilian partnerships that are going on there. That's changing how war is fought. You know, to everyone's point we've talked about, hey, these folks were, I taught IT stuff and I was an outdoor recreation teacher, and now I'm on the front lines in an ambulance because that's what I needed to do for my country. And so that changes how you think about military or combat medicine is applied, right? Like that's not the American experience. So there's tons to learn. I think there's also tons, you talk about culture. You look at the pride of a Ukrainian, regardless of their background or anything like that. And they're like, I'm here for Ukraine. And I think America right now is a very decisive place. Identity politics are a thing, and learning how to work through them and still recognize the individual, but come together for a big problem and make your country better is definitely something America can learn outside of the tactical or medicine world.
Thank you so much for that answer. Just to follow up, is there similarities between Ukrainians and Americans? And if there are, could you tell us what these things are? Kind of, this one's for the unity.
Good one.
Bogdan, take this one.
All right. So I've met so many people from US, and these guys are not exception. And they taught me definitely quite a few things there. And I'm not talking only about medicine. I'm talking about being a person who really is there and who does what they believe in. So we definitely have many things in common with Americans. And the more people like these amazing folks are coming or maybe trying to find some other means to support horrible things like war, we find these links in the moments like that. And this is something really special. And this is something that you cannot put like a country, on top of that, or, kind of trying to divide by the continent or something. It's something that is very human in Americans, I would say. And I find it very often with people I work with and some other guys that I've known as a part of our other organizations. So definitely many things are in common, and I'm really excited to meet even more Americans that are there, and they show a really amazing part of them, and they show that they are there, they care, and they do something about it.
Just no red hats with white lettering on them. All right.
Yeah, if Bogdan's done, I'd like to jump in on that, because I think one of our friends who is unfortunately not on this call, Finch, says it the best. He says, Ukraine right now is fighting for concepts and ideals that Americans have held to be self-evident for nearly 250 years, right? So these ideas of independence and freedom of tyranny are things that Americans used to take, well, we do take for granted, but Ukraine is truly the ones who are fighting for this right now, for again, this freedom of oppression. And so, what Ukraine stands for right now is really what we should hope for people all over the world, which is that you should be able to live a life of autonomy. You should live a life where you don't have drones flying through the night. And this is one of the things that I think we all struggle with, is that we would not wish this war on anybody, but I cannot imagine my life without Victoria and Susanna and Bogdan and all of our teammates in it. And at the same token, I wish that they could all go back to the lives that they had before the war started, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure Bogdan would rather be doing that and living in peace and freedom than doing what he's doing now, which is, something where we ask and he willingly comes with us to teach medical training to people who are in trenches where they don't want to be, treating injuries that they don't want to see, and, going to be scarred physically, mentally, psychologically from this for the rest of their lives. And so, I think the thing that we all need to remember about Ukraine is that they are the ones who are actually doing the things that we all believe we should have as humans that reside on this earth together.
Well said, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer. And I do have, this is a good segue to go into a question from Annette. And she's asking, do you provide any psychological support for those soldiers affected with PTSD? And if there is support for international volunteers with PTSD, there is a very big need.
Yes. So in our most recent mission was our first time we brought out a mental health care provider. Yulia, she's Ukrainian. She now resides in the Pacific Northwest in the US. She joined us and was teaching psychological first aid to the soldiers that we were working with. So in context, we were teaching tactical or pre-hospital trauma medicine. And at the same time, she was teaching how to manage acute stress, how to manage PTSD. So we've built this into our training program because we recognize that it's such a big issue and will continue to be a big issue for many years to come. And so again, our goal is to try to save lives at the point of injury. That's not just stopping bleeding, keeping people warm and giving blood. Is once they get through that, then they need the mental health support. They need the social support in place for that. And so that's, again, as we expand as a group, this is one of the things that we're going to focus on and continue going forward. And then fortunately, Yulia is connected well to that mental health world so that if we need support, not only do we have each other to talk through that and support each other, but we also have connections to appropriate therapists as needed.
Cool. Yeah, because that's going to go both ways. It's not just helping others. It's you guys got to get through it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things that we, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Mike. You got this.
Well, I mean, I think internally, Steve talks about it, but one of the things that we did learn coming out of the American experience was that PTSD and things like that were more often seen in larger organizations where there was not a more familial atmosphere. Whereas if we looked at that and compared it to smaller units, special operations units, for example, there were less lingering issues because there was this feeling that people could talk to each other in a way that mattered. And so one of the things that we've prioritized right from the very beginning with our team is that feeling of we are in this together. We are a small unit that is deeply, deeply intertwined once we're in the field. But then the necessities for things like psychological check-ins, making sure everybody's good, and then the follow-up. I mean, even though we as the US-based team, if you will, is only in country a couple of times a year, we're in daily communications with the members of our team that are not, that are still in Ukraine. And that is something that keeps us cohesive and ensures that we're constantly checking in on each other such that we are also making sure that, and as the team lead, I think one of the important things for me is that my number one priority for everybody is that I have to navigate them through physically, emotionally, and psychologically intact. And that's during the mission, and obviously that's a lot of post-mission stuff as well. But it's always been at the forefront of what we do as a team. And I'm really proud that we do focus so much on that because it is important.
Cool.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that answer.
I'm gonna jump in quick, Slavie, with a couple of shout outs here. Get ourselves caught up. We've got Joe Medley came in with a $20 direct Ko-fi donation there. Bless you all for your courage and conviction. Good words, Joe. Love it. Thank you for helping them as well. Karen Hensman comes in with a direct donation on Ko-fi as well for the Força Foundation. Slava Ukraine. Heroam Slava. Good words. And then Kaltenberg just came in with a $50 direct donation for Força. Keep up the good work. All right. I think we got to get the old boom boom fun sound in for that as well. Yeah. And I think I'm caught up on there because I know I did Rick sent in. Did I announce that Rick gave us 5 Shills memberships and Nikki Hill? If I didn't, hell, we'll do it again. And I think we are caught up there. Yeah. All right. I can be quiet again. Back to questions.
We have a couple more to go from the audience. Sarah is asking, do Forza buy all their equipment supplies in Ukraine?
All right.
Yes.
No, since no one else. Yeah. Yeah.
The answer is
Yeah. So, I mean, the true answer is we get as much from Ukraine as we can. Now, there are a couple of things that are still, one of the requests we get a lot are for individual first aid kits, which come with a number of things that, unfortunately, they are just easier to still get in the US, and we know that we can get them here. But generally speaking, our goal is kind of threefold. We want to get as much as we can from Ukraine because that, one, supports the local economy, which is a critical piece of what's happening in Ukraine. Two, it makes our donor dollars go a lot farther. As we talked about, the Dnipro tourniquet costs $13, and in the opinion of this team and some other folks, it is the premier tourniquet on the market. Now, if you compare that to the closest analog in the States, it'll cost somewhere between 2 and 3 times as much. So for a third of the price, or for the same price, I can get 2 to 3 times the number of supplies that I need, which then means 2 to 3 times more people get those supplies. And then finally, by providing things that are local, it provides a solution that is replicable in Ukraine, right? Like, you don't have to wait for the Nova Poshta to deliver the thing that your donor in the US sent you. I can tell you, or I can tell the unit, hey, this is where we got this tourniquet. You can go to this person and get as many as you need for your unit, and you can get them right away because they're used in Ukraine. So long answer, yes, we try and get as much as we can within Ukraine. It also saves, and every one of the people on this call can talk about the fun that we have with the Ukrainian farmers carry, which is carrying everything across the Shem train station platform and then schlepping it by hand from point to point. So the less we have to do of that is fantastic. But in reality, we want to support Ukraine as much as possible. And it's not just with the medical training, but it's literally putting money, our donor money, as far as it can go to support the Ukrainian economy.
Yeah, because the wheels of commerce have got to, as often as you can, involve the local economies into things. Then you're doing more than just your mission. You're also participating, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to push for this, it's chest seals. That's like the biggest thing we can't find of high quality at a good price in Ukraine. So if anyone has connections to chest seals, which are basically big pieces of tape, essentially, for holes in the chest, that's it. We can get pretty much everything else in country that would be part of an individual first aid kit.
Well,
cool.
You heard Steve, guys. If you know anyone that could help out with that, please let us know.
Oh, yeah.
Next question is from Cheryl. She's asking, do you use freeze-dried plasma at the front?
I'll take this. If you can find it and you can afford it, yes. This is actually one of the most requested items that I get personally. I see in different chats. The hard part is that it is expensive. It's only made in a few countries. It does have some advantage to it because you don't need the logistics to back it up. You don't need a cooler. You don't need a warmer. You just mix in some normal saline and you're good to go. The problem is it's not a fix-all. It's actually one of the last recommendations for blood replacement. So for blood replacement, it's whole blood, meaning you take all the components of blood, give it to somebody. If you were to go to a hospital and get blood in the US, usually it's just one of the 3 main parts. One of those is plasma. That's like the next. And then either red blood cells or plasma. And then the last thing is freeze-dried plasma. Usually because it's not as effective as the other forms, but it's better than normal saline or lactated ringer like we talked about before. So again, if you have friends in France or Germany who want to spend a lot of money, that's where fresh frozen plasma is made. Some of it is made in Ukraine, but because of the military rules and such, it's harder to get. So people who have friends in France and Germany, please find fresh frozen plasma and send it to Ukraine.
Great, fantastic answer. Thank you so much. Next question is from Duncan Stewart. Good question. What is the next step for head injuries and PTSD, guys?
That's a good question. The PTSD part is very multi-layered and very difficult in Ukraine. It was difficult in the US too. So anyone who has been exposed to one head injury, if they receive a second or third, their symptoms are going to get progressively worse. And so the goal is to, if they have a traumatic brain injury or concussion, you want to get them rest and you want them to fully recover. Unfortunately, there's still a 1,200 kilometer front to be protected. And so sometimes this is overlooked and it only leads to further problems. And as some of the Ukrainians may attest to, mental health is not primarily a focus in Ukraine. And so again, that's something new and something more that's being talked about and more accepted, but it's all being balanced with who's at the front. So that's difficult, but there are programs and groups on the back end. So in Kyiv and Lviv that are helping support this along with the physical rehabilitation. And same thing goes for PTSD. It's very difficult to manage here in Ukraine because it's one, the volume, two, the culture, three, the availability of actual counselors and therapists and the people willing to be open to it. So again, this is a huge area for improvement. Unfortunately, there are a lot of support from the international, from the rest of the world to really support this and make this happen. So it's slowly coming. It's happening. Of course, not as fast as we would like, but it's going to be there. And a lot of good research and a lot of good outcomes of how to treat PTSD in the future are going to come from this experience in Ukraine.
Thanks so much. There's a follow-up. Oh, I'm echoing again.
Yeah, and then it went away. I think you're all right.
Okay. There's a follow-up question from Duncan Stewart as well. In trauma, can we give opiates? Can we give Ativan without losing breathing effort and avoid sedation? It's getting technical.
I mean, I could talk about this for hours. Yeah. So the choice. So there's I'll give the simple answer and the more complex answer. The simple answer is kind of yes. The more complex answer is there's better medications like ketamine that are keep people breathing and keep their blood pressure up. Morphine is not suggested. There's another morphine-like medication called fentanyl that can be somewhat helpful. From a Ukrainian perspective, there are many different drugs here in Ukraine that do not exist in the US for various reasons. So there's quite a bit of drugs that people will get if they get any drugs at all. And this is another thing that I see that could be improved along Ukrainian healthcare is the addressing pain. A lot of people are told to basically grin and bear it. So you're in pain, you deal with it. And they do. However, this adds to PTSD. This adds to difficulty of treating a patient who may be combative because they're in a lot of pain. However, there is a big push for ketamine to be used. And again, there's a huge need for this. This is one of the most requested medications I see for get is ketamine. Next is fentanyl, and then some of the nausea medications. They do exist and they're being pushed. However, again, you have a 1,200 kilometer front, 650 miles for people who are in America who don't know how to convert. That's a huge, huge, huge front line. And so it's very difficult to cover all that area. So yes, that's the simple answer, and then the more detailed answer.
Well, maybe if Elon Musk quit doing all the ketamine, maybe show up in Ukraine.
Yes, that's a good one.
Oh, that was funny. Oh, should we? Here, I'll hit it. I'll hit the gag just for the shits and giggles of the moment.
The chainsaw for bureaucracy.
That's what ketamine does to you, children. Don't use it recreationally.
That was good. Then we have another question from Annette. Do you have an Amazon wish list for people to help get some things you need?
We don't necessarily have an Amazon wish list, but if you go to our Força Ukraine through the Força Foundation, and I know it's been put in the chat a few times, if you go to the Força Ukraine side of that and then to donate, you can actually see cost per item. One of the things that's challenging is, the things that we saw early on, especially in the war, was that people, well-meaning people, I mean, these were people who were doing their, what they thought was the best thing to do, going on Amazon and ordering what they thought were discount products and then sending them over to Ukraine. And obviously one of the byproducts we saw of that was that not all of those products were actually real. We saw a lot of counterfeit tourniquets going out that way. So, and I hate to be the person who's like, you send me your money and I can do, we can make decisions with it. But at the end of the day, that really is the best way when you're talking about very nuanced medical provisioning. That really is the best way for us to be able to say, okay, we've got this much money. We can put this much against tourniquets. We can put this much against chest seals, as Steve was talking about. But we do want to be very transparent with where everybody's money goes. And that's why on our actual page, we have a list of, like we talked about earlier, if you give us $13, that $13 can be put against a tourniquet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it totally makes sense because this isn't like, so many of the examples I would give are going to blow up in my face. I can't say this isn't like buying a drone on Amazon because you're likely to get garbage. This isn't like, it's just leave it to those that know to make the right decisions. That's definitely how things have to be done. Okay, so time-wise, we've got about 15 minutes on the clock left. So should we try to squeeze a few more questions in before we, Yeah.
We can definitely do that. If the viewers want to send some more questions in, but I have some questions for everyone on the panel. How does U.S. policy uncertainty, like this past week's pause and resumption of aid, translate into risks and pressure for Ukrainian medics and hospitals?
Good one. I think we're going to start with Mike on this one. My gut's telling me.
We got 15 minutes left, guys.
For this.
But I mean, I think the really hard part, and we've lived this real time in the times that we've been there, and obviously, Bogdan and Steve and others who are not on this call, and obviously Aziza, they're also living it in real time in ways that we don't fully appreciate. But I think one of the things that has been very complicating as a factor for Ukraine is, rightly or wrongly, this administration and the previous administration, generally speaking, the aid has been very much piecemealed into Ukraine. There has not been a very specific concerted effort of saying we're going to send these things and they're going to allow Ukraine to defend itself. And I think where we see that play out, and we saw this, I remember specifically in March of 2024, so even prior to this administration, where you had Congress debating a relatively large aid package to Ukraine. But in that time of debate, that aid was held up. And what that meant for Ukraine was that they ended up rationing their air defense system because they didn't know when they were going to be getting more resupply. And I think that is the commonality here. Every time the West, and particularly the US, falls short in its international obligations to our allies, Russia is emboldened. And not only is Russia emboldened, as we're seeing over the last week and over the last month, they're also extremely well armed. And that arms production is only increasing with time. And one of the very frustrating things is that we could argue the merits of giving Ukraine offensive weapons all day long. I understand that. But when you restrict the ability for Ukraine to defend its civilian populations with these anti-drone systems and with the anti-missile systems, what you're saying is that you don't really care about humanity. And Russia sees that as a clarion call to do the things that it has been doing. And I think one of the most kind of insidious and really hypocritical things that they did was in April, when there was supposedly this 30-day ceasefire, they agreed to not hit the energy infrastructure, which they've been targeting for a long time. But consequently, what they did was they put a bunch of drones into people's apartment buildings and into places like playgrounds and just restaurants and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I think the great frustration for those of us who sit on the US side is that, you know, we are keeping Ukraine from defending itself. And every time we have these pauses in attention or pauses in, you know, defensive weapons going to Ukraine, we see Russia take advantage of that, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll personalize that. Bohdan's on this call. We usually message regularly just as friends, but now we're messaging each other every morning. Hey, are you still alive? Hey, are your windows intact? Hey, how's your mental health? Hey, how's your sleeping? This is what delays and delays in money and support for Ukraine is causing. Not just Bohdan and I, but it's everybody in Ukraine now is waking up or not sleeping well, not going into work and being productive. It's on so many levels. But yeah, to personalize it, just Bohdan and I, our conversations have changed.
I'll just add one thing here, and thanks, Steve, for mentioning that. I don't know how you guys view at the resources that Ukraine forces have to protect the country, but just imagine there is a soldier right now in a trench, and they are fighting to make sure that the enemy is not going through, and the civilians are not killed, and the new cities and villages are not taken and not imprisoned and tortured. So just imagine, so there is help that is coming from our partners, right? We have some agreements. We expect some things to show up. We expect them because things are used. The seals that Steve was talking about, or the tourniquets or other things, they're used every day because there are casualties. And these resources run out really quickly. And if someone is really curious to know how much of these resources are getting to the front lines from the country, meaning like Ukraine, for example, Ukrainian government, and how much of these resources are supported by volunteers or some international organizations, you may be very surprised. Because if you look at some numbers, you will see that sometimes some niche could be delivered by volunteers, up to 40 or even 50% by volunteers and international organizations. So if you think about helmets, if you think about IFACs, if you think some other things, you can find this data online and it's available. So just imagine one of these days, few countries pull out. So what are the options? Like, what does the soldier do? Like, they just don't get these things. They sit there in a trench, they fight, but they don't have means to protect themselves because they ran out. So this is the reality when we expect some things to come and they are not coming. We just run out of options, but we are still there because we don't have anywhere to go. We need to fight.
Yeah, I want also to say some words from me. It's like every year and every day we learn something new from the history, because Ukraine is absolutely partners of United States, but sometimes we have feelings that we are not partners of United States, and it's like about this what Americans can take from Ukrainians. Like, Russian must be brought to its knees. So because Russian broke all the rules, and we could not make peace with these people. And from the election of Trump's, it began to be absolutely not about the peace in Ukraine, because we realize that every word about the peace brings to us a lot of death, a lot of tragedies days, and it's like begin to be trigger, because we realize that for world, or maybe for some leaders, we have different values and different understanding of even some words like peace. And we try to explain to all people from Europe, from United States, that a peace. It's not about how you can just stop the war and make your business again, but about how you can be strong, because Russian feel this weakness of United States because of these ideas, and it's really a big disappointment from different people, because yes, we realize that it's just leaders, but some people can lose this connection with lost this hope about the United States and about the free world. But in any case, yes, like Bogdan said that we have we have only one way to fight. In any case, without help, with the help, we have only one way to be here and to be human and to be with our names. Don't lost our hearts and our souls.
Hmm.
It was fantastic. I actually, my final question to the full panel, if we can go around and starting with Aziza, could you tell us what, if you could say one message to American politicians and American voters, for them, the ones that deny aid to Ukraine, that are not for it, what would that message convey? What do you want them to understand?
Good one.
It's like we have some maybe not the simple message. Never trust Russia. Never trust in Russian words. Never think that Russian can be on your side, not on the side of China. You can never. Russia will betray you in any case, and will do everything to destroy this world. Russian. It's like not only Putin. It's a people that hate United States, hate these values of democracy, hate these people, and also feel this feeling that they want to take your homes, they want to take your money, they want to take everything that you have, and it's very you have to be smart, and smart people now are here is who support Ukraine, who do everything for the freedom. But if you think that you can have the peace agreement with Russia and do your business, have your money, it's a very stupid way. You're stupid because in the future you will have the situation much worse. So you have a lot of problems because of this, and we had this in the our history. We had this in the time of the World War II. So it's, I don't know how to touch this. I think that hearts it is full of death and full of, I don't know, unhuman souls. But I think it's more important to say that it's really, you need to do it for your reason, not only for Ukraine, for your economy, for your future, for your people, because it's really great to be together and show Russia how they are stupid, how they are not, they could not be in same in the free world. They have to change yourself, and that is why they have to lose this war, absolutely lose this war, and even be in such situation like was Nazi German. Germany was occupied by United States and unfortunately by Soviet Union, and even this part of Soviet Union is still has a lot of problem with mind and with economy. So it's really, maybe it's hard to understand, but it's really only one way.
Yeah.
Aziza, that was so incredible what you said, and we talk about it a lot on the show. And it's that Russian ideology, and it won't just go away.
No.
Right. So even if Russia breaks up, it will take decades and decades and decades to basically build them up again. Those Russians. I don't even know if it's possible at this point, but the professionals say that's what you have to do. But they completely hate America. That's part of the ideology. So no matter what Putin says to Trump or how much they're besties from the 90s, it doesn't matter, because the Russian people probably worst enemy is not really Ukraine. It's United States.
Yeah.
And it's been in there for decades. That's just how it's always been since the Cold War.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a quick message here. Trump, Putin is playing you.
Yeah, let's go around to the rest of the panel. What would you want to say directly to American politicians or voters who argue it's time to reduce or cut support for Ukraine, and with your final thoughts as well? Steve, maybe you can go next.
Yeah. I invite any American politician to come to Ukraine. I will happily meet them. I will happily show them to all the good places. I will show them that this country is beautiful, that the differences between Ukraine and US aren't very much. And like Aziza said, there's a huge difference between the Russians and the rest of the world. And the only way that the Russian people are going to learn what it's like to actually be free is to be broken and to be rebuilt. And that only comes through victory, like we learned in World War II. That's the way that the world works, unfortunately. And so when you have a culture that's been persistent for probably 300 years, really, if you go back to imperialist Russia, this is a problem that's gone on for way too long. And the struggle is it's the end of imperialism. And until we put Russia culture of imperialism out of this world, it will continue to be a problem. And the reason to fight for that is you come to Ukraine, you drive on the roads, you see the beautiful fields, you see the beautiful sunflowers, you eat the delicious food, you meet the warm people, and you realize that this is what life is about. And that's worth fighting for, and that's worth standing up for. And that it's not just groups of people who make changes, it's individuals. And that's what I love about us as Força Ukraine. It's us as individuals. We stood up, and we want other people to stand up with us. And so again, any American politician, even President Trump, if you would ever listen to this, you are welcome. I will happily show you around. I know all the great Georgian restaurants. I know all the great Ukrainian restaurants. I know all the great cafes.
Yeah, but do you know where to get a good spray tan? Because he's going to need that too.
I can get that too. Oh, trust me. The Ukrainian women know how to take care of themselves here. It's not a problem. And so there's just so many wonderful things about this country that need to be shown to the rest of the world. And the way to do it is to show up. And that's always my thing. If you really want to help, you stand up and you go. And when you're there, your presence makes a difference. And so, yes, again, open invitation. Please come visit. I will happily show you around.
Awesome.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'll jump in here real quick. I think from my perspective, the message that I would want to get out, at the strategic level for the U.S. Do I have the audio problem now?
No. Slavie's phasing out in the background. I'm just trying to save her. Keep going there, bud. All good.
I think from a strategic perspective at the U.S. Decision maker level, the message I would want to get across is that supporting Ukraine isn't an act of charity. This isn't us doing some kind of good thing for Ukraine. While it has that effect, right? Those who don't support charity to Ukraine can think of this in a much more self-centered way, right? Supporting Ukraine is about U.S. national security. It is about the stability of Europe. It is about the credibility of American leadership. And at the end of the day, if we want to sit around as Americans and the way we like to talk about ourselves as global leaders and, somehow, creating something, great in the world, right? You have to actually, like Steve says, you've got to show up and do it, right? And this is one of those chances that we have to put our money where our mouth is. We like to run our mouths, but can we actually show up in those times when we have an opportunity to stand up to an autocrat? We have an opportunity to look at war crimes, to look at the degradation of a population, and in a very meaningful and very public way on an international stage, stand up and say, we will not allow this to happen. Right? This is about allowing our voice and our leadership as Americans to actually, to actually be heard, to actually mean something in the world, which I would argue it hasn't for quite a number of years. And so that would, I think, be kind of the big message I would put out there, right? This is, supporting Ukraine is, can selfishly be an investment in our own national security, the stability of Europe, much more largely, and about the credibility of the American leadership in the world, if that is what we want to continue to claim that we have.
Oh, good one. That was good.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, you're coming through good. Yeah.
Great. That was a great answer. Thank you so much, Kyle. Mike, same question and your final thoughts.
I'll lead with a final thought, and that is how much I appreciate the chance for us to be on today. And the Ukraine international community, the Ukrainian community writ large is so strong, and we see it in moments like this. And one of the things that I'm often reminded of is that, as we've talked about through this podcast, like, nations can feel a certain way, but small groups of people aligned in a similar direction have the potential to make great change. In terms of what I would tell American politicians and American voters, it would be along the lines of what we talked about earlier, which is that Ukraine is fighting for the values that Americans have held, to be true for a very long time. The other thing I would say, and this kind of echoes what Kyle was talking about, unsurprisingly, is that America has not always been great. And in many times we've been awful, like just downright awful. But arguably over the last 80 years, the world has been a better place because of strong American leadership. We have, post-World War II, been kind of the dominant superpower in the globe. And, I think what worries me about America writ large, if we make this conversation a little bit larger right now, is that we're seeing this rise of nationalism, and we're seeing this rise of kind of insular thinking. And the world is just such a big and wonderful place. And it's one that America should be involved in, whether that's here in Ukraine, whether that's resuming what USAID was doing across the world, reinvesting in American soft power has done more over the last 80 years than any other aspect of US foreign policy. So for the people who want to say that, America first is the way to go, we need to be very careful to not make America the pariah. America alone is not good for anybody. And like I said, America has not always been great. And in fact, we've been downright awful. But when we decide to project good in the world, we have the ability to make, and I'm so struck by these numbers that are coming out from the closure of USAID and how many global deaths that will cause. And if that, and what's happening in Ukraine, and what will happen because of America's withdrawal from the world, don't move your meter. I'm sorry, but there's something wrong with you.
Strong message. Thank you so much, Mike. That was really well thought out and well said. Bogdan, same question, and any final thoughts to our American and international viewers?
Yeah. First off, I would like to thank everyone who has supported it and is going to support us. And I'm talking about Ukraine in general. We are really grateful. And despite some differences that, the government has changed, or they have some other priorities here, I know that many people are still supporting Ukraine, and that is a big thing here. Don't think that we don't notice that. We know that, and we are really grateful to that. I would really support many topics that my colleagues here has mentioned. And of course, the big red empire is supposed to fall, definitely. There is no other way to improve the security of the globe without it actually happening.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to mention here is, and I'm talking right now not only about governments or citizens of the governments, US or the international. I'm talking right now to people, to humans. So I'd like you to take a pause right now and think a little bit about who you are. and what is really important to you. The word values that is often used by media, by bloggers, but all these organizations, sometimes is a buzzword, but also sometimes is a really powerful word. And every time when you think, hey, I am this kind of person, what do you actually value? Do you value trust? Do you value freedom? Do you value love to other people and believe that everyone deserves to live a better life? Is it something that connects with you? Is it something you feel really deeply rooted with and you believe you are that kind of person? If you are, try to connect with people like that. Try to make these links and overcome all the obstacles that are there and support people of your values, people of the same kind of person you believe you are. It's not about countries. It's not about politicians. It's about being a human that you think you are and connecting and uniting and doing things together.
Yeah.
If you do that, that is the best thing you can do.
There's an old saying in Canada, I bet Americans, you guys probably know it too, but be the person your child thinks you are.
Very deep.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bogdan, that was fantastic and well put, and I got teary-eyed again. Such strong closing statements. Thank you so much. Nick, same question and your final thoughts, please.
Man, I get to go last and have to try to say something original because Dick basically stole my line. Right?
Oh, sorry, man.
To make this a bigger worldly thing, when there was protests going on in Hong Kong from not an entirely different situation, when they were waving American flags, there was an internet meme that says, "Be the American Hong Kong thinks you are." I think we're in the same spot, right? Be the American that people in Ukraine think you are. You know, that's where we are. That's the thing, and that's what I would say to the politicians. There is a tradition of Americans, fixing things and doing better and helping out and putting their money and their values where their words are. We can do that. Those are accomplishable goals, and we can learn from our mistakes and we can do better. It's easy. Be that American people think we could be. It's that simple. And very much thank you for everyone's time today. Everybody in chat who's listening to us talk, and you guys for giving us a platform. Our entire team really does appreciate it.
It won't be the last time you join us, so.
I think our viewers already tried to book you after you guys come back from your Ukraine trip. So hopefully we'll see you again soon. I'd like to say a huge thank you to SSW for donating $2, saying in the super chat, watch Slavie's videos to learn more and comment. Thank you so much for those that want to see my last video. It's been in the stream chat, so please check it out. Then I have a super chat from Kiwi Davy with a whopping $34.99 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much, saying Slava Ukraini.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Yes, thank you so much.
I'll catch up on a couple here too. We've got SSW Custom Sewing out of Oregon, USA. Please support the small channels who help Ukraine. Thank you to all you beautiful people for making it happen. And that was a direct donation of $6.66. Then we cruise in with another $6.66 from Mexi Girl on the mod team for Força Fundraiser. Lord, thunder and Jesus, that was loud. For the Força Fundraiser, Slavie, Ukraine. Not done yet. And then we scroll down a little bit more to find the Wizard of Ooze has come in with a $36 direct donation. May the Força be with you, Ukraine. Long live the cheese. That was a good one. And then we got Carl Jacobson as well in with a $20 direct donation for Forza. You know my name. Look up the number. Cool. And then if I slide over, we've got our own Annette, who's on the Shills account today in the live stream. Everybody say hi. $20 direct Ko-fi donation. Thank you so much to the Forza team and Aziza for taking their valuable time to be with us today. Well, I think that's the perfect one for me to end on there, but I screwed it up because I'm not done. And I got to do Niles Knudsen in the chat there, came in with 10 gifted memberships twice. So we'll just hit the explosion, sound the horn, and cue the applause. Thanks, Niles. That's totally killer, man. So cool. I'll quickly say, what a great day. What a great stream. You guys were excellent to have on. Aziza, I knew you'd be great to have on because we've already chatted on Rick's stream before. So we're definitely going to have to do some more of this. We'll be in touch in the background to make sure. And, it might be a cool thing when you're there. We could get one or two of you on, and a little show of what's going on when you're there and stuff. That might be really cool too. So have a think, see if it could be squeezed in anywhere, but much appreciation for y'all joining us. Slavie. I got to thank our team before I turn it to Slavie here. We got Annette, as I said, on the Shills account there. We got Shayna Caldwell, Chris Lundy, Mexigirl, Liam Wakefield, and Super Chat Matt. You can't do these live streams without a team. Always thank the team.
Absolutely. I'd like to thank to our wonderful panel, Forza Ukraine and Aziza. Thank you so much for being here and for everything that you do. Thank you to channel Yarochenko Mods. We have SSW Custom Sewing and to Moments. You guys are rock stars, you know that. And to every single one of you who showed up today, not to just watch, but to witness, to speak truth, and to stand your ground. This week, Ukraine insured over 1,260 drones and missiles. Hospitals, apartments, entire cities under fire. And yet, it still stands. And today we saw what standing looks like. Forza Ukraine, American volunteers showing up where it matters most, training medics and saving lives at the very edge of this war. Aziza with her beautiful and powerful voice and message. But no nation can stand alone forever, and no truth survives if we stop telling it. So if this made you feel something, don't just feel something, do something. Support Ukraine, support those on the front lines and the voices that refuse to let this story disappear. Please like, subscribe, share, donate if you can, because this isn't just a live stream, it's a lifeline. And every time you show up here, you help carry Ukraine a little further through the fire. And remember, a Ukrainian victory is not just Ukraine's victory, it's America's too. Their fight is our fight for freedom, for sovereignty, and for the future. So God bless the ones who stand for freedom, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroes Slava. What a perfect moment to end on.
over. Go home. Go.